Welcome to the Album Anniversary Podcast. Today's show is about Watch the Rising Day by Matthew Smith. It was released August 17th, 2010, so it is celebrating a 15-year anniversary.
Dark and cheerless is the morn, without your hand to comfort me. Joyless is the day's return, till your mercy's beams I see. Till they inward glide impart, glad my eyes and warm my heart. Christ whose glory fills the skies, you are the truth.
Hi, I'm your host, Caleb, or Caleb the Spy is what I go by on social media, and every day I do my best to post about what I call album anniversaries. So on the Album Anniversary Podcast, we take a look at a classic album or an album we love or an album that's important to us on the anniversary of its release date. Albums on the show often focus on alternative rock, punk, and my strange obsession with ska. In the 90s, I was super into the Christian music scene, so that comes up often on the show. And today I'm joined by Matthew himself. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I am super, super excited you are here. If people know anything about my musical tastes and musical journey, the hymns is a huge part of it. And so I'm super excited to talk to you about this album. This is probably my favorite hymn album. And so, yeah, I was really excited. I reached out a while ago. And so, yeah, thanks so much for joining the show.
Yeah, I was excited to get the invitation.
I mean, speaking of the hymns thing, I know you've said it a couple times, but like, how did you fall into this? Because it's a lifestyle, right? I mean, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I went to college at Belmont University here in Nashville, and back in the late '90s, and somehow got involved with a Bible study called Reformed University Fellowship, or RUF. And
Okay.
the guy who was leading that, the campus minister there, Kevin Twitt, he is. He's the only person I know that graduated from both Covenant Theological Seminary and Berklee College of Music.
Okay.
So he's an incredible guitar player and songwriter, and he found the worship songs at the time not inadequate, but he wanted to find something that went better with his sermons, because he would preach a sermon every week. That's part of RUF structure. And so he also is a huge book nerd, and so I think he collected some old hymnals. He wasn't the first person to do this. There were some other people in RUF that had written melodies for old hymns, but he I think his first one might have been "Arise My Soul Arise," which he wrote at a sonship conference. And then he just kept writing these, and we would sing them, and he encouraged us to write them as well. Like, we would show up. He was also teaching Sunday school at Christ Community Church at the time, and he would just photocopy lyrics for old hymns and would pass them out and say, "Hey, somebody try to write something to this." So I wrote music to one called "Come Ye Sinners" by Joseph Hart, and he decided to put together an album of these hymns. And he can do a lot musically, but he cannot sing very well. He'd be the first person to tell you that. And so he gathered those of us who enjoyed singing. And I recorded on that first album, I recorded "Come Ye Sinners" and two of the ones that he had written. And we put it out totally independently. This was the year 2000. So just available from our website, no distribution. It was pre-iTunes even. And got a really good response. And that album, he was planning on only ever doing one album. So he only put he put 17 songs on it. He put as many songs on it as he possibly could. And so, but then we got such positive response from it that we kept making them. And the first album was called "Indelible Grace." So we kind of took on that name as the name for our kind of collective. And then after the second album came out, I looked around and I thought, I love these hymns more than any other songs I've tried to write. And so I should put together a band to go play concerts of these hymns at churches and colleges around the country. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. And then I think in 2004, I put out my first solo EP.
Okay.
And then called Even When My Heart Is Breaking. And then in 2006, I put out my first album, which is called All I Owe.
I mean, and it really is quite the collective. I mean, and some of the people that you guys have brought in, I mean, it is, we'll get to it here when we start talking about even who's on this record, but like, these are Nashville scene people and people who are involved in the Christian industry. Like I remember mentioning somebody who loves Jars of Clay. I mentioned, oh yeah, he sings on a couple of these Indelible Grace songs. And he was like, what? Hey, I had no
Yeah.
idea. And it's like, yeah, they've really drawn in some fantastic artists who have gone on to do some pretty cool things. So
And Steve Mason played electric on some of the songs on the All I.O. album.
okay.
Yeah.
Is he the one who's the Moses now, or does he own the barbershop?
Yes.
I can't keep
Soccer.
track of all
He
my Jars of
does.
Clay
He
people.
he he owns a barbershop called the Handsomeizer, and which is attached to Jars of Clay. Still owns a studio in Berry Hill area of Nashville, and he's got the Handsomeizer barbershop, and he's also become a local celebrity called
Yeah,
Soccer Moses. He shows up at the Nashville Soccer Club games dressed as Moses, often with a banner that says "Let my people goal." And he was voted, I think, last year in the Nashville scene favorite religious figure in Nashville.
nice. I mean, the
So
"Let My People" goal is pretty
it's perfect.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
He's basically a walking meme, and I think that's what he's always aspired to be. He also sometimes will DJ on vinyl at a local bar, and a friend, a couple that my wife works with, one of the this woman, and so as kind of a double couple date, we went to this bar just to get to know them. And in this bar, there was nobody. There was nobody in the lounge. There were people out at the bar, but nobody in the lounge,
Sure.
except for me, my wife, the couple we were with, and Steve Mason dressed as a Christmas elf because it was December, DJing on vinyl. And I remember just thinking, like, what is my life? Like, how can I drive the street down the street from my house to hang out with some people? And my like teenage like Jars of Clay, I mean, they're
Yeah,
still huge to me, but in high school they were everything.
yeah.
And it just seems like, is this real life? Like, I just I don't believe it sometimes. Some of the people I've gotten to work with and even know, uh, like the fact that the Jars guys know my name is still super weird to me.
The phrase "Don't meet your idols" is actually not true sometimes. Like sometimes it
No,
is worth
they're
it.
sweet guys. Yeah, they're sweet guys.
Yeah,
I'm not like tight with any of them, but they've always been super kind to me.
yeah.
All four of them.
That's I've heard. I mean, they're not. I was more on that alternative side, like the
Yeah.
Jars of Clay thing. I kind of missed the boat
Yep.
in a lot of ways, but like I get the sense that these are just genuinely great people, and
Yeah.
that's just as worthwhile as any music people put out. So yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, well, let's jump in and we'll tackle this album.
I need a friend like thee, a friend to soothe and pity, a friend to care for me. I need the heart of Jesus to feel each anxious care, to tell my every trial and know my sorrow share. I need thee, Jesus, I need thee today.
So, like we said, we're talking about Watch the Rising Day by Matthew Smith, again, released August 17th, 2010. I give the caveat all the time. Sometimes I don't know the release date. Sometimes I'm guessing. I feel pretty good about that one, so we're going with it. I had somebody correct me today and say, I don't think that's the right release date. And sure enough, we did a little research together and I was wrong. So it is what it is. So I'm going to call this your second of 4 full-length albums. There's also 3 EPs and then plus a Christmas album. Plus, sorry, I keep on saying plus, contributed to at least 10 Indelible Grace records. Does that sound right? That was a lot of random numbers.
I don't know if that's the right number of Indelible Grace. Yeah, it must be because the two live.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't keep track anymore. Yeah.
But then four solo records, and this is number 2 is what I
Yeah.
was
4 solo
thinking.
albums. Yeah. But then 2 of the EPs got combined into one album.
That's
So
right.
how do you even count anymore? I don't.
I don't know. And then I think on a couple streaming services, there's another Matthew Smith that sneaks in there, so that can really throw people off. Make
There's
sure you
2
get the
or
right
3.
one.
There's
Yeah.
2 or 3, and I've been pretty diligent in tracking them down and contacting the services and getting them removed from my profile. But it's a whack-a-mole game because
We,
new Matthew Smiths are born every day.
we covered the waiting, friends of the Christian music scene.
Oh my
And
gosh,
there's
one of
a
my favorite
new like
bands.
heavy metal waiting.
Oh really?
So it's like they're if you go to like YouTube Music, you get two different versions of the waiting. You got like,
Oh
which one
no.
is it? Is it Bluebelly Sky or is it this
Uh,
heavy metal band?
Bluebelly Sky and the Self-Titled are two of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah, we covered Bluebelly Sky for its 30-year anniversary a couple of
Man,
months ago. So, and they're hopefully
yeah.
putting on a new album. A couple of them responded to me saying they're
Okay.
almost done. We'll
Well, we'll
see.
see. We
Yeah,
will
exactly.
see.
So, this was on Detuned Records or Detuned
Detuned Radio
Radio
Records.
Records, and
Yep.
it looks like that is pretty much just your record label that you own.
Just my little, yeah, named after a line in a Radiohead song.
Okay,
She buzzes like a fridge. She's like a detuned radio.
perfect. And that's never there's never been any ambition to try and like expand that outside of just it covers your stuff and it makes it easier.
No, I did it for the Christmas compilation album I put together called Your King Has Come, and
Okay,
then I kept it for the rest of my records.
nice. Okay. Well, let's get into some of the people on here. So this was produced by Kason Cooley. I think I have the last name right. And technically, he produced songs 1 through 10. Now, that's what I want to focus on. I know there
Yeah,
is a deluxe album. It's the one I have digitally, which also has another, I think, 4
4.
songs.
Hmm.
But he produced kind of tracks 1 through 10. He was in the Normals. I think that's going to be, if people familiar with the show, we cover a lot of CCM. You're going to be familiar with the Normals. And then he has worked on a lot of your records. Mission House, Eli Holcomb, I think is how you say that last name.
Ellie Holcomb.
Ellie
Yep.
Holcomb, David Ramirez, Matthew Perryman Jones, Andrew Peterson. He's everybody knows him. Ben Rector, and then Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. Need to
Yep.
Breathe. It goes on. The list goes on of people he's worked with. How did you get connected with him?
So Kason and I were in college together until
Oh,
he dropped out to be the road manager for the Normals, which he then
okay.
later on their second album, he was with them when they were recording it in New Orleans and played a lot of piano and keys on it. And
Okay.
then when it was time for the Normals to decide to do the photo shoot for that album, they were like, Kason's in the band now, right? So that's how he kind of snuck in there. He's had such a crazy career. If you're familiar with Matt Carney,
Yeah.
he had some hits a few years back. He went on, when his big record kind of popped off, he played all the late night TV shows like Conan and
Yeah.
Letterman and all that kind of stuff. And the drummer, Will Sales, who plays on Watch the Rising Day on several tracks, was playing with him, and they needed a new bass player. And Will was like, "Oh, I know a great bass player, my
Hmm.
friend Kason." And he called Kason. He was like, "Hey, Kason, do you know how to play bass?" And so Kason played all those late night shows and met celebrities, and just a weird, charmed life.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was producing at that time when I had him produce my first EP, Even When My Heart Is Breaking. He was co-producing records with Andro Singa,
Okay.
and I just knew Kason and his sensibilities well enough and I love Andrew, and he's a great friend of mine. But I just thought I want Kason to produce this by himself, and so
Hmm.
it was the first record that he produced by himself was
Nice.
mine, and I've held that over him and made him produce many records since then. Even though he has gone on to bigger and better things, I kind of just hold his feet to the fire and say, "You would be nowhere without me," which is not true, but it's a fun thing to say.
He wouldn't be anywhere without being able to lie about playing the bass. That's really the key to
There's
success.
really a lot, yeah. But he played the bass. It's not those songs weren't that complicated, and bass isn't that complicated of an instrument. So
I think it's actually the album before where Matt really blew up, but Young Love, I think that's the album where it's like the neon green thing on and he's wearing like the striped shirt. That is my favorite pop album of the last
oh
like
wow,
20 years. I love that album. It's
I
such a
should check
great.
that out.
Yeah, I love that album by Matt. It's a real nice mix of kind of where he started and then where he went. It's kind of right in that sweet spot for me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. All right, so a couple other producers again, focusing on those the second handful of tracks that are on the bonus one. I just want to call it you helped produce those, and then Kenny Hudson, who it looks like is Katie Bowser's. I hope I'm saying that last name.
Yeah.
That's her husband. He also plays on this record as well, and
Hmm.
then that's really it looks like his only producing credit is on this, and it's also on sadly, which is not available anymore, Katie Bowser's wonderful EP, All of My Friends. And I know
Hmm.
she responded because somebody was like, I posted about that online and somebody was like, where can I find this? And I was like,
Yeah.
you can't. And she was like, I'm
No.
really sorry. I'll try and get back up at some point.
She
I was
can put
like,
it
I
up on
get it.
Bandcamp. She just
Yeah.
needs to do it. Kenny also produced my album Hiding Place, which came after
Okay.
this one.
Nice.
So
Okay. So that's and then he has also performed. He's probably most famous. I could be wrong, but it looks like he's kind of most famous for performances. He's performed with Third Day, Indelible Grace, Crowder, and then friend of the podcast Jeff Moore. I make fun of Jeff Moore in the distance. I shouldn't, but I do occasionally. My worst joke ever on the podcast came at kind of Jeff Moore's expense in the middle of a Prayer Chain album of all things. So
I think Jeff can probably take it.
yeah, he's probably good for it.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, Kenny played like a little part on the very first Third Day record, but
Okay,
he's most known like he toured with Crowder for years and years and years,
got
and
it.
finally came off the road recently. But that's where a lot of people will have seen his bearded visage is on stage with Crowder,
With
and
the
he's
other
kept the
beard.
beard. He's kept the beard, even though it's no longer a contractual obligation. I assume it was contractual obligation, but
I would think
um,
so.
I don't. He's kept it, so you know.
Awesome. It looks like Shane Wilson does the mixing on this, and he is this phrase is going to come up a couple times. If you've listened to Christian music, anything kind of out of Nashville, out of the Christian Nashville scene, you've listened to something he's mixed. He's got tons of credits. I was going to try and list them, and I just gave up. There's like 344 credits. So I'm assuming you had been connected with him at some point, or was it just how did you find him?
My wife used to work at a studio called Pentaverate. She worked with a manager named Dave Steinebrink, who managed a producer named Matt Brantlowy. And he, one of the first times Haley Williams from Paramore ever was on a record was on a kids project that Matt Brantlowy produced.
Okay.
And so I have memories of sitting and watching TV with a teenage Haley Williams.
Okay.
Again, Caleb, my life
The
is
name
is
drops on this
so
out.
weird. It's weird. It's not like we're friends, but yeah, Shane. So Shane worked in that studio, and so
Okay.
he and Alice, my wife, became friends. And I don't know. That probably wasn't the only connection,
Hmm.
but I reached out to him because I knew he was great and he was a friend, so he would cut me a deal on my first EP, and I've been working with him since. Not working with him anymore because he's not working anymore.
Oh, really?
He sold his studio and all of his equipment and does coding. Last time I checked, he switched. He learned how to code. He was just done with mixing the music.
Well,
So
yeah, I get it. I always every time I hear those stories, I
yeah,
always am just like, I just hope it wasn't like total industry burnout. Like that's always my fear is that like somebody just
yeah.
like because you hear about guys who get done doing this and it's like, yeah, it was great, and I've got $20,000 in debt, and I hate music now. Like that's the hope is that it wasn't that at the very least.
No,
'Cause,
I think he did fine paying his bills, but I think he probably was a little burnout. But
yeah, I can imagine. But you
maybe
get that many credits.
maybe you can convince him to come on and do anyway.
I could probably invite him onto a lot of shows because he's had his
Exactly.
hands in a lot of
Yeah.
different things.
And he's such an incredible mixing engineer. Yeah.
Yep. And then the last producer or last kind of production thing to call out is Jeff Pardo is how I want to say the last name.
Pardo. Jeff
He
Pardo.
he did the mixing on those kind of the bonus tracks.
Yep.
He has worked with Indelible Grace, the Denver Mile High Orchestra, Matthew West, Ginny Owens, Ren Collective, Crowder as well. Toby Mac, which this will not be the last time I mention Toby Mac, there are a lot of people. And then he also gets 2 writing credits on this. He helped,
Yep.
it looks like he gets a writing credit on You Are the Light and Redeemed, Restored, and Forgiven. And that's the only other person who gets a writing credit on the album
Mhm.
outside of you. So,
Yep. Yeah, and Jeff also has produced and I think maybe written with Ann Wilson, who
okay.
so I don't pay attention to much Christian music these days, and I
Sure.
think you don't either. So from what
I've
I
been
can
called
tell,
out.
but she had a huge hit called My Jesus and a bunch of other stuff. So he won producer of the year at the Dubs 2 years ago
Oh,
at the Dub
wow.
Awards. So he has become quite a big deal in Christian music. So
Yeah. Yeah, I have Ann Wilson on my name. I skipped it though because I was like, I don't know who this
I know
is.
I added that to the doc.
Oh, okay. There you go. Thank you.
I added it at the top to show that it was important,
Oh,
but it
see,
didn't work.
my own notes. I cannot be
Yeah.
trusted.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's go through. I know we're spending a lot of time kind of going through this, but I'm gonna call it just kind of people that were on this. And again, I'm gonna go fast through kind of some of these, just because these are people who performed on this. Two drummers were on it. Man, this is my last names are gonna fail me now. So it's Jeremy Luito.
Nope. Lutito.
Lutito. Dang it, I'm the
There's
worst at
there's
last
two
names.
T's in there. Lutito.
And
Lutito.
I don't see a ton of other credits for him. I kind of looked around on Discogs, and I'm sure he's done other
Oh
things,
man,
but
no, he's done a ton. Mainly session work in town, but he was also
yeah.
in a band. He was in a band for a minute with Thad Carpool called Leagues.
Okay. Oh, I know that one.
He's a incredibly well respected drummer
Okay.
around town. So yeah, I haven't looked up his credits because I just don't think about that. But he's always working.
Yeah, maybe I missed it. Maybe I went in the wrong way on Discogs. So because I'm sure if I
Maybe
went going through leagues, maybe I'd
yeah,
find it that way. So
yeah,
I really like them, especially that first album. It's really
yeah.
good. So and then you already mentioned Will. Will does drums. He has worked with everyone. I mean, Jeepers from Indelible Grace, Matt that we've mentioned, Toby Mac, Matthew Perryman Jones, and then I saw Nora Jones on there. I think recently. So he's he's worked with everybody. It looks like as well. So he's also doing drums on this.
I have no idea. He's playing with. Last time I checked, I think this is still current. He's the drummer for Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors.
Yep.
So he's playing with them, but he's done so much stuff. His life is pretty crazy. Taylor Swift did okay. This is not me dropping names because this is about my friend, but he used to live in this house, and somehow Taylor Swift got the pictures taken for her album. I think it was Red
Okay.
in his house. It's just so
That is odd.
again, it's just weird Nashville stuff that happens. Um, but yeah, Will is an incredible drummer and just one of my favorite people. I love him with all my heart.
I mean, were these both guys who were friends, like just kind of connections, or is like
Yeah,
friend
a
of a
lot of
friend
these
sort of
people are
stuff?
friends. Yeah, yeah. So Kaysen's a good friend. Will's a good friend. I don't know Latito, but
Okay.
do you know what I mean? Like other than working with him. So that yeah, there's a lot of different guys who um Paul Moak was more of a friendly acquaintance.
Sure.
Like he was a friend of a lot of people. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So on bass, I see two people. Kaysen filled in on bass a little because apparently he knows how to play. That's what I've heard. And then Tony Lucido is the other person.
uh-huh.
And I started looking through his credits, 280 I see. So he is Jennifer Knapp, Amy Grant. I mean, anytime you've worked with Amy Grant, Reliant K, DC Talk, Toby Mac, and then my favorite, Brave Saint Saturn. That was the first one that jumped out to me.
I
We
had
just
no
covered
idea
the
he
record
played
he
on
played on.
that.
Yeah, he played on the record we just covered. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
he's been all over. It looks like anytime you play with Amy Grant, you have my respect.
He's an incredible bass player.
And then, did you know him before going into this, or this is just
No,
yeah?
no. He later married one of my friends.
Okay,
And but it's yeah, it's just nuts.
just finding people. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I see three guitarists on this. One we already mentioned was Kenny. He played the pedal steel, the high strung guitar, and some electric guitar. And then there's two other ones. One you mentioned, Paul, Paul Moak. And again, this is another one that I'm just going to say, if you've listened to Christian music at any point, you have probably listened to him. Stephen Curtis Chapman was Rebecca St. James, Over the Rhine, Small Town Poets, Toby Mac again. Dr. Bebo Norman, he played with him.
I get that reference.
Every time I post about a Bebo Norman, they're like, I get at least one person who's like, he's a doctor now, and I'm like, I know, I'm aware. So yeah, it looks like Paul is another industry staple in a lot
Yep.
of ways.
Yep.
And then Nathan Duggar,
Hmm. Yep.
he is in. It looks like he's in Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. So
Yep.
it looks like a number of people connected with that group. He's also played with Ben Rector. Matt Wirtz, he played on his Christmas album, which I know a lot of people love that Christmas album. And then CC Winans is another one I see on his
Oh
credits.
wow, that's
So
cool.
played around a little as well. And then the synths. We have people who have synths and the other keys. It looks like it's Kaysen and Jeff. We've already kind of mentioned. One of the other big ones then is an Eleanor.
Denning.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she's played on. She played the violins on this and some electric violins. Her credits: Third Day, Matthew Perryman again, And then it gets a little interesting. Deer Tick, she's played with them. And then Megan Trainor and Margot Price. And then rounds it out with Rebecca St. James. So she is
Yeah.
obviously
Why
made a
not?
career out of playing
Yeah.
tons of violin. So
Yeah.
and is that somebody you knew, or is just kind of hired,
Nope.
just finding
That's
people?
somebody that Kaysen was
Okay.
connected to somehow. That's probably why she played on Matthew Berryman Jones's
Okay.
record too, because Kaysen produced that.
Okay. And then I see somebody who just did a bunch of percussion, Evan Hutchins. So he's been around for a while. I didn't see a ton of other stuff, but he played a ton on this album. That's what I wanted to call out about him. Tambourine, shaker, bongos, bells, tom-tom, snare drum. He kind of had his hands in all sorts of stuff. I think Kaysen had him all doing all sorts of stuff on this. So he gets a credit. And then some background vocals. I'm going to mess up this name. Philip LaRue? I'm the worst with names.
Philip LaRue.
Okay,
He
I got it
was a
eventually.
part of a brother-sister Christian duo named LaRue.
Okay.
So many of the mistakes that you're making are so specific to like somebody who doesn't know about a certain era of Christian music. So some of the people listening are like incredibly entertained right now. Like I
Most
don't
people,
blame
that's why they
you.
listen, just to hear me
I,
pronounce stuff.
I don't blame you for not knowing these things, but like somebody just screamed and said, "How could you not know who LaRue were?" You know,
Yeah, it's who I am.
Philip and Natalie or whatever. But yeah,
A ton of the other people, that's the other one, is I did notice a ton of the other people who are on this record played on his records.
okay,
A couple of his records had a lot of these people
okay.
on them. So, and then Kaysen does some background vocals. Charlie Harden, I couldn't find a whole ton on him. So, is he a friend of yours, or is he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was an acquaintance, and he also sang some on the Hiding Place album.
Okay.
He's great. He can sing a lot higher than I can, so I brought him in for as a pinch hitter for that.
Awesome. And then the last two people that get credit on this, Jeremy Casilla. Is that his name? How you pronounce it?
That is very
Casella.
similar.
Casella.
That's right. That's very similar to how Alexa pronounces it, but
Okay.
it's Jeremy Casella. Yeah,
Okay.
he's one of my very best friends and an incredible solo artist as
Yes.
well, and as well as being featured on most of the Indelible Grace albums.
Yeah. His recovery album, that was I
good.
cannot believe how good that album is.
Yeah.
It is so good. So
And
yeah,
I
sorry,
feel
Jeremy,
like he
for messing up
topped
your name.
it. No, I feel like he topped it with Death in Reverse, his album after that, which I think takes some of the best elements of that and knocks it out of the park. Jeremy Latito played on that.
Okay.
I can remember that. So I was wondering about Jeremy's credits earlier, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Jeremy's fantastic. Sadly, I know he split from Twitter a while ago, and I'm always bummed because I have old tweets that I try and reuse, and his tag no longer works. I'm always like,
I know.
So
Yeah.
he gets a lot of love too when I post in the there's a Facebook group that talks about music stuff, and I post a lot of my stuff there. He gets a lot of love in there too when I post his stuff. So
he deserves every bit of it.
Yeah. And then the last one is Sandra McCracken.
Mhm.
Needs no introduction.
Sure.
Absolutely fantastic. In Feast or Fallow is my favorite album by her, which came out a very similar time frame to this. I think it's right around the same era. Might be a year later. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. But
Yeah.
Sandra's absolutely great. And if you have never checked out her music, go do that. It's absolutely fantastic. So, all right. That was a lot of list of names and bands, but I just thought I'd cover most of the people on here. Not even most, all the people on here. So thanks for, I know you sent over some credits, so I was able to add some of those, which is, it was good to know kind of who was involved with making this. So, all right, well, let's jump in and we'll tackle a couple questions.
With cords of love, he bound us to be his own today. Redeemed, restored, forgiven through Jesus' precious blood. And triumph is home in heaven. Oh, praise our Father.
So the first question we always answer on the show is kind of how you discovered this album, because generally we're just fans who are talking about albums. So I'm going to go through my story of how I discovered this, and
Okay.
you can't answer really. I mean, you just made this.
Yeah.
So I discovered your music because I think you were doing one of the tours, and you ended up at Bethlehem Baptist. At the time I was going to Bethlehem Baptist, and you came in and I think you did the offertory. I think that was the only thing you did, and maybe a closing song. So it wasn't like a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember like being like, well, I that was great. I love this idea of these old hymns. And so I went out and I think All I Owe was the album you had. I think I bought that and maybe one other thing because I think you had a little merch booth set up. So I grabbed those and that was kind of like started my obsession. I don't know when that was. It had to be after 2006, I think. But
Mhm.
before this, by the time this album came out, I already had everything. And I think you'll remember this because you've done this touring thing and I've seen you I think it's maybe three times, maybe twice or three times. But the one time I saw you was in Minnesota. It was in a town called Anoka, which was a bit of a haul. Me and my wife came, and before you played, the pastor and somebody else from the church got up and did one of the worst church sketches you'll ever see. In fact, you and I laughed about it a couple of years later.
Yes.
There was a pastor dressed up as a woman at one point, and
Yep.
it was totally outrageous.
Yeah,
And
they were in drag, and I remember, I believe that they sang not full drag, but they were
enough,
cross-dressing is what we used to call it. And they I do remember them singing at least part of I Got You Babe by
yeah.
Sonny and Cher, I want to
I
say.
thought there was a Dolly Parton reference too.
That that would not surprise me. I think they did a medley of
Yeah,
different songs, but I they did not tell us they were going to do that before. And so I was sitting there watching, and I just was like, what is happening
right.
here?
Yeah,
Because it's so funny when you go, it's tricky when you go play at a church because you're entering into their space,
yeah,
but doing your specific thing. And it works best when there's some clear delineations of that. Essentially, the pastor introduces you, says why he wanted to have the concert, and then you do your thing. But every once in a while, somebody will have an idea, and that was the weirdest one. Wasn't the weirdest concert I've ever played, but it was definitely the weirdest thing that happened before a concert.
yeah. I remember after my wife is a little less like sensitive to those sorts of things where she's like, "Oh, that was fine," and I was like, "Well, yeah, I had a coworker I told I was going to a concert tonight. Like, what if he would have been like, "Oh, I'm interested," and I would have been like, "Yeah, it's this guy who does old hymns. He takes these old texts and sets them to new melodies." And what if he would have been like, "That sounds really interesting. I'd be interested in checking that out." What if he showed up at this? Like, I think he'd be so offended and so thrown
Yeah,
off that he wouldn't have cared about the concert. And she was like, "Oh, I never thought
right.
about it that way." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Well, and for me, I'm kind of like, because people don't know. They think, oh, they've got a traveling comedy act opening, that's going with them. That gets in the
right,
van and they go into the next. If they're not part of that church, I'm sure if they were part of that church, they know these guys.
right,
But yeah, I think about that person who got invited and is just like, what is happening, and
yeah."
doesn't understand. I don't know.
I think it was actually right after this album came out because
Okay.
I think after the show we talked about you didn't sing the opening track because I think your voice was starting to like that. I think you were like, "Were you surprised I didn't sing You Are the Light?" And I was like, "I was a little." And you were like, "I think my voice was." I had to skip it for a show, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay," because I think
Yeah.
we talked about it after. So I think it was kind of right after this, and that I mean, my introduction really goes back to that time at Bethlehem. But I think I mentioned it before we started recording, but like I think I had this pre-ordered like the second I heard it was coming out. So I mean, I was very familiar by the time this came out. So that's my introduction to this. And then the sketch, I just had to bring it up because
Yeah.
it had to be brought. It had to be brought
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Go with us to the last, not to the last your word has said. Could we but read aright? Poor pilgrim lifting hope your head, and eve it shall be light.
All right. Second question we always go through is, looking now again, usually it's, fans who are talking about this and we talk about like what we like about it. But, looking back at this album 15 years later, what are your favorite things from this album when you look back at it?
So much came together in making this album, and if we talk through the songs, I can kind of get to some of those things. But it just was a fully realized vision of what I
Hmm.
wanted. It was exactly the kind of album I wanted to make. um and it was also it's my also my only album where I wrote or co-wrote all the songs.
Hmm.
And I usually have like a traditional melody hymn or somewhere in there, something in there. But all these 10 songs, I wrote eight of them, and I co-wrote two of them with Jeff.
Yeah.
And there was just something about that. And also for me, one thing that I think a lot of people don't wouldn't put together about the way I do things is I come from 90s Christian rock.
Sure.
Like, Take Me to Your Leader, Jesus Freak, Poor Lou,
Jars of Clay.
Jars of
Yeah.
Clay, for sure, all this kind of stuff. And there was a certain sensibility in the 90s before kind of the worship thing took over,
Yeah.
that I really, to this day, really enjoy. And so this is not really a worship album,
Hmm.
but it's a hymns album.
Yeah.
And I'm structuring hymns creatively, and it's just not it wasn't designed to try to necessarily get people to sing these songs in
Yeah.
church. It was designed for me to take the existing hymn text, restructure, rewrite a little bit, do some things, and make them basically into the album that I grew up wanting to make,
Hmm.
in the 90s. Like, oh man, one day, if I could make an album that sounds like this and had great players and did this. So it's more rock. It's I'm both like rockier and poppier than Indelible Grace usually is.
Yeah.
Indelible Grace usually is a little bit, and there's a lot of diversity within Indelible Grace, but it's usually
A
a
little more
little more
Americana. Yeah.
folk and Americana type oriented, which I love. But this was kind of my artistic voice, and just setting out to do something and then accomplishing it and feeling good about it and still being able to listen to it without cringing years later is it's yeah, that's what I think of when I think of this album.
Yeah, I think that's what, like, when I was starting to write notes for this, I was like, this really is a rock record. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like, even though it is really easy to sing along with, it's not necessarily something that you would throw into a corporate worship setting. And I
right.
think that's what makes this really unique in that hymns setting. Like, I think the majority of those are written to kind of, you want them to be that corporate setting. And
Right.
I think that's what really I love about this is it's taking these really, really great texts and, making a rock album around them.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought of is it's kind of like if U2 was going to do this. This is, I think, what it would sound more like this than
Yeah.
something like Indelible Grace, and like kind of leaning into that. And there's a lot of production stuff that I think Kaysen brings to this, where there's just cool, interesting sounds that happen on this, where, yeah, you wouldn't maybe want to throw those in the middle of a worship service, but as something that, like, you can listen to, like I was listening to it today, and it's like, it's just a great, addition to anybody's collection. So yeah, I think that is what makes this stand out from a lot of the other records, and
Yeah.
especially the hymn records.
Yeah.
Endless road. You are greater than our hearts. Come make your faithful mercies known. The mind of Christ to us impart. Your constant mind in us be sure.
So you kind of already touched a little bit on it, but why is this something that kind of holds that special place in your heart? Because you mentioned beforehand that this is one of your favorites, if not your favorite record
It's
you've
my
done.
favorite. It's
And
my favorite.
you kind of mentioned a little bit. I mean, why is it something that just holds that special place?
Yeah. I mean, I got to do more things. Like I got to have a photo shoot with a great
Hmm.
photographer. There's a story I can tell about that, about how some of those things came together. I got to do a music video
Yeah.
for Lord Jesus Comfort Me, and I just got to do, again, a lot of things that you kind of grow up thinking, oh, one day maybe I can do a music video. Oh, one day I can have cool artistic looking photos,
Yeah.
and do you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of kind of just wish fulfillment there beyond the themes. The theme of the album is, and next time you listen to it, you'll be able to pick up on this now that I'm telling you. But the theme of the album is, um, how to live in the tension between the already and the not yet,
Mm,
meaning Jesus has already lived, died, and risen again, but he's not yet returned. And so we
yeah.
live in this in between time. And so that is over and over again the theme in these hymns. It's not like a concept album, but it it does thematically tie together in that. And so being able to make this album and then go out and play concerts during this era where I was able to kind of talk more in between songs about that
Mm,
was important to me.
yeah. So I'm gonna gush a little, so just be
Okay.
prepared.
All right.
So this came out probably when I'm like at the height of my interest in the hymns thing, and I think when it's kind of, I think it's one of its heights because like this comes out the same year as the hymn sing uh, Indelible Grace did. So like I feel like I'm in like the most into this, and I already talked about kind of how it hits that sweet spot of like being a good rock record that also has these hymn themes. But like
Yeah.
this is my 19th favorite. I've done the exercise. This is my 19th favorite record of all time, and it is my favorite record of 2010. And 2010 has some good ones. So it beats out The Suburbs by Arcade Fire, The Hymn Sing by Indelible Grace, American Slang by the Gaslight Anthem, Through Songs I Am Undone, which is by Justin McRoberts. It's his cover album. In Feast or Fallow did come out that year. I have it in the notes. And then The Medicine by John Mark McMillan was technically released in 2008, but then re-released in 2010, and that's when I discovered it. So that's how much I love this album. I think it hits this great sweet spot. When I got into vinyl, I told you beforehand, I was stumbling around kind of like, what else can I buy on vinyl that'd be fun to own? And I was like, I wonder if Matthew's got anything. He does. He has that one. Oh, so I ordered that. So yeah. Anyway, I love this album. It's one of the ones that I really encourage people to check out. So 19th favorite album of all time. Sorry to gush. I hope that isn't too weird for you.
No, I love it. I love it. Nobody ever says anything nice about my music, so
Well, it's I think it's a shame that it doesn't get as much as like the Indelible Grace stuff because
right.
I think it is like the U2 comparison. I'm going to make that again, right? Because I think it is your attempt to kind of push into some of that stuff. And I think
Yeah.
some of the times that happens, like Sovereign Grace, well, there's one of them. Sojourner, that's it. They did a bunch of hymn records.
Sojourn.
Yeah, Sojourn. And at times I feel like those are almost too complex. Like they're too
Okay.
much. Where like you walk that line between the rock and it has an artistic flair, an artistic feel, but it still has enough pop sensibility where it's like, yeah, a guy who doesn't want to be wowed by all the fancy guitar tricks, but instead
Right.
just wants to hear a really cohesive album can really, really enjoy it. So
Yeah.
that's where this lands for me. So yeah, sorry to gush.
No, that's great. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Your back, plowed with deep furrows, cross and grief, and all your sorrows, your blood, sweat, and agony. Oh Lord Jesus, comfort me.
All right, let's talk through some songs. There's only 10 on, well, again, there's 13 or 14 on the bonus one, but
Yeah.
there's 10 of them. So before we even jump into songs, I would assume choosing tracks for a hymn album is a much different process than like just if you're writing from scratch because you're starting
Right.
from a spot. So how does that work when you kind of go about like, hey, here's a collection of songs I want to do?
Yeah. I mean, this one was written over several years. We'll
Hmm.
probably talk about how some of the songs appeared as different recordings
Yeah.
on the road sessions. But yeah, so I kind of wrote this slowly and then quickly to kind of finish it out. But yeah, I just kind of accumulated. There were 4 years in between All I.O. and this album, so I just kind of worked throughout that time and found hymn texts like I always do in old
Yeah.
hymnals or online. And when I'm choosing hymn text, it's well, let me put it this way. I have a friend who I was out in hanging out with in LA probably shortly after this album came out. And we went out to dinner and he was like, I love your albums, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Hmm.
And I said, this is what I have to say.
Hmm.
I had to find lyrics that say what I want to say in the way I want to say it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you have good concerts and bad concerts. You have albums that people notice and albums that people don't notice. At the end of the day, I have to be happy with it, and it has to feel true to me. And I know it can be creepy for some people to think that I collaborate with dead people, but I just think it's a really great thing to kind of reach across, decades or centuries in that way and be able to relate to what somebody wrote, and say, "Oh yeah, me too."
Yeah.
That's how I feel, and so that's always been my process, and it was my process on this too.
Yeah. I think it's I mean, again, I make the comment all the time, like, this is what I wish our church would do more of these. Like, it really drives me nuts, the songs we sing at church. Like, I've had to really learn to not be frustrated,
Right,
which is not how I want to experience worship, because I don't want to ruin it
right,
for my kids. I mean,
right.
that's where I'm at this point. Is I want my kids
Yeah,
to be able to leave church going, oh yeah, Dad probably didn't love that, but that's okay. We sung it. He sung it happily, even if it wasn't like, this. Because I just feel like the words that come out through this, like, redeemed, restored, forgiven, is such a great example of just feels so much more rich than, you know, light is good, dark is bad, fire
right.
is warm, rocks are strong. Like,
Now
that's what I feel like I sing.
that first song does talk about the light a
That
lot,
is
but
true. That is
yeah,
true.
but and at eve it shall be light. So I not let us scot free. But yeah, that kind of a little bit more complexity without it being esoteric
Yeah.
or confusing. Hymns tend to pay off the more you sing them.
Yeah.
You don't get every nuance of every lyric the first time you sing them.
Yeah.
And I think people sometimes think that that something should be instantly completely understandable the first time, but that's how you get sick of a song. I
Yeah.
think is you're kind of done with it. But these hymns tend to have layers that you keep unpeeling,
Yeah.
to find more in there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, when they think about, I think another thing that really makes this record stand out is, like, a lot of people think about hymns, like the hymns redone, like that whole movement. And they're like, oh yeah, it's just taking, you know, one of those hymns and just redoing it, and like,
Right.
I look at, like, And Can It Be by, that Sandra McCracken does on the first
Hmm.
Indelible Grace album. And like, that's, to me, is just, it's a great updated version.
Hmm.
And it's basically the same text. On this album, there's less of that, right? Like, this is a lot more of like portions of text or parts of it, and then you're expanding on it in some ways. So it is really a collaboration.
You'd be surprised. Well, I can talk about some of it when we get to them, but yeah, I wrote very few lyrics. Like
Oh, okay.
I wrote a line in Redeemed, Restored, Forgiven.
Okay.
Um, I might have tweaked a few other things, but I can't
Really?
recall right off. But I did restructure, and I can talk about that
Oh,
once we get to the first
okay.
song.
Yeah.
That gave it some different dynamics. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's jump in then. So the first track is You Are the Light, again, based on a part of a hymn, a text by Charles Wesley. I went to
Yeah.
Wesleyan church for a year and a half, so there's
No,
my
it's based on
connection.
that hymn. It's based in part. That's kind of a little
Yeah.
not legal, but like a little clarifying thing of it's not just an arrangement of
Yeah.
of that work, but it's based in part. It should say based in very large
Yep.
part, but
Based in large part. Very large part. I like that. Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's a great opening song. It's a great rock song. There's some subtle strings on it. And I think your vocals on this are absolutely great. I think it is potentially my favorite song on the album, although I could be swayed. But yeah, it's a great opening track. How did you go around picking this one, and kind of where did this one come from?
I came across it. Charles Wesley is my favorite hymn writer. That
Okay.
guy, I mean, that guy is in the pantheon of
Hmm.
songwriters with Paul McCartney and Bob Dylan and whoever else. Like he really is. He wrote over 800 hymns. Not all of them are good, but I
Sure.
mean, it's shocking how many great ones he wrote.
Yeah.
And somebody actually told me that there's some book where they annotate Charles Wesley's hymns and show all the different scripture references. Like he's
Oh,
directly referencing scripture so many times. And to write something compelling, beautiful, biblical that rhymes,
hmm.
that guy just was incredible. So I love him. I took this hymn, and the first verse of it was Christ whose glory fills the skies. Thou art the true, the only light. Thou art the true, the only light. Son of righteousness, arise. And then it said, day spring from on high, be near. Day star in my heart appear. That was the first verse.
Yeah.
So I decided to take that first verse and make it a chorus, and then add "You are the light" at the end of it, but strip away those last two lines: "Day spring from on high, be near. Day star in my heart appear." And I copied and pasted those, and that's the bridge.
Yeah.
So that's why the bridge is not like full verse length.
Hmm.
It's because it's part of that first chorus. So, and then I took the second verse and made it the first verse. So instead of starting with Christ whose glory fills the skies, it starts with dark and cheerless is the morn.
Yeah.
So it starts with a tension that is then released in the chorus. So like that kind of thing where um, it sounds like I did a lot more than that writing wise,
Yeah.
but really is it's writing, but it's structuring. And I brought it to Jeff Pardo's structure already. I was like, this is how it's going to go. And then he and I were off to the races. I mean,
Hmm.
he's such a brilliant guy that I was holding on for dear life writing this with him, and he would come up with an idea, and it was basically him coming with ideas and me being like, no, 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 yeah, that one's good. Okay, let's do that. And then doing that, and so he loved it because he's usually having to work from scratch, and he already had not only lyrics but a structure
Yeah.
to write
I
to.
I think this is such a good example of what you can do with this. Like you
Right.
can take these texts and because like I think if you just played it, especially if you stripped away the music for sure, or
Yeah.
the lyrics, and just be like, hey, listen to the song. Now here's the lyrics to it. I think this is one that would fly over people's head. That's like, oh, this is based in in large part off an old hymn. Like no way.
Yeah.
I think you could totally fool people with this. Not that
Yeah.
you're out there trying to fool people, but yeah.
No, I tried to fool people a little bit, but yeah, and so I really enjoyed writing this with him. We wrote this and Redeemer Stored Forgiven on the same day, I think, in just one writing session.
Okay.
But yeah, I love the strings by Eleanor. Like one of the things that people might not know about recording like classical instruments is that there's two kinds of classical players. There's ones that you have to hire a string arranger and then hire a quartet
Hmm.
and then have them play what's written on the page. And then there's people like Eleanor and a lot of other people in Nashville who show up just like a guitar player and you
Sure.
just play them a song and say, what can you do with this? And they come up
Yeah.
with their own part. And then with her, we layered like a ton of violins. So it's like, I don't know how many it is, but
Hmm.
it's more than a few. And so she's playing different things. So it sounds a lot bigger than just one person playing a violin, but it was one person playing a violin.
Yeah.
And then I don't know Philip LaRue at all. I'd heard of his band with his sister. But Kaysen, I don't think really knew him,
Hmm.
but he came up with the idea of having him sing um, on this. He shows up at the studio. He's one of the most good-looking men I've ever seen in my entire life. Ladies, look up Philip LaRue
Blonde
on
hair.
Google.
Yeah.
Just his sister's beautiful too, but he shows up and he did it in I don't know 20 minutes. It was in and out, and I've never met him before, and I've never seen him since. But but every time I listen to this record, like his background vocals on this song might be my favorite part, or
Hmm.
the little bass thing that Tony Lucido does almost near the very end of the song. He goes, and back when you had like regular ear pods,
Sure.
you couldn't even hear it because the bass response wasn't strong enough. But if you put on real headphones or like AirPods Pro now, you can hear he does this do 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 do, and I just those kind of like little things just I love so much.
Yeah,
So musically, it was just incredibly satisfying to get done with that, and then have people pop in like that.
that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So you are the light. I decided again. I was just crazy about this album, and I was young and had energy, and so I was like, I'm going to take this to radio, which was a terrible idea. But I hired an independent radio promoter. Some stations played it, mostly non-reporting stations. So there's
Hmm.
in Christian music and probably in other kinds of music, there's reporting stations that report to the charts, and then there's ones that kind of do their own thing that don't report to the charts and tend to be a little bit more open-minded, don't have like a relationship with labels that they need to have a mutual thing with.
Sure.
Um, and so some non-reporting stations, it did get some airplay, and that was good. But the radio promoter sent me a spreadsheet of the stations he'd contacted, if they were playing it, if they weren't playing it, how often they were playing it, and any comments. And I remember one of the comments was that it was too dark.
Really?
It's called You Are the Light, and they thought it was too dark. Now, dark is the first word in the song,
Right.
um, but but that kind of like in a nutshell shows maybe my different approach to Christian music than mainstream CCM. Is I'll see something like this as like an incredibly hopeful, joyful song,
Yeah.
but it takes place in the midst of suffering.
Right.
Um, and but I feel like that's the Christian life. And that again, tying back to the theme of already and not yet, like
Yeah.
that's what it's about. But Christian radio, at least one guy was like, yeah, it's too dark. And I'll tell that story sometimes at my worship seminars, but I won't reveal the title till the end of the story because
Sure.
we don't have the benefit of that here. But it gets a huge laugh when I tell them the title of the song.
My question to that guy would be, have you ever heard of the prayer chain? Because,
Uh, I guarantee you that guy has never heard of the prayer chain.
that's dark, right? Like
Yeah,
that's, yeah,
right.
this is there's no
Right.
way I would ever in a million years call this
Or
too dark.
if you want to be really snarky, have you ever heard of Psalm 88? Or or a lot of the other psalms, whatever.
Oh,
But I
that's
did get it
awesome.
played a little bit, and that was fun.
I think it's the right song for that for the if you're gonna
Yeah,
go with the single, despite the darkness. I
yeah,
think You Are the Light is the way to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Awesome.
I thought I was going to trick him, Caleb. I really thought I was
Well,
going
that's
to
what we're
trick him
going
into
for.
playing this
Apparently, is the
hymn.
trick.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to fool them all, make them think my songs aren't hymns. They
Well, now
are.
you'd want to be. There's a whole other conversation about
Yeah,
current state of Christian music. But
sure.
all right, so the second song is "I Need Thee Today," and this is again another great rock song. This is one that was on the Road Sessions, I
Hmm.
believe. I didn't do a great job fact checking myself. Based in part on a text hymn or hymn text by, oh boy, here we go. Frederick Whitfield is what I want to go with for that.
That sounds
So
right.
yeah. At least you don't know him, so I'm not totally
Right.
insulting
No,
people
no.
you're
Yeah,
friends with.
I can't text him later and be like, oh my
If you
gosh,
could believe
listen to how this guy pronounced your name. No.
he is the worst human. Ugh. So yeah, so this song obviously had been kicking around the Road Sessions. For
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't know, is you had recorded that literally on the road with your
Hmm.
traveling band. Clint Wells is on that. Shout out Clint Wells. Me and him,
Yeah.
we used to go back and forth on Twitter before he kind of disappeared from it. But
That checks out.
so you had kind of recorded that on the road, and then so this is one that obviously had been kind of kicking around with you for a little bit before it came out on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. And it's the same structurally as it was on the Road Sessions, but it sounds totally different, not only because of the recording quality, because that first Road Sessions record was recorded literally on cassette.
Yeah,
Um, but just what's done with the guitars is pretty different.
yeah,
Like it's just a completely different approach. I love both of them. I love what Clint played on the Road Sessions version, but it's really cool as an artist to have it, or as a songwriter to write a song and record it twice,
yeah.
and really love things about both of them. And then there's a piano part that comes in closer to the end of this.
Hmm.
It's like and I remember we were mixing. Casey and I were in the studio with Shane when he was pulling up the mixes as he was going along, and I was like, "You need to turn that piano up." and uh, and Casey was like, "Are you sure?" And Shane was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, yeah. And Shane was like, okay. And then I like got in my head later. I was like, maybe I was just excited and I'll think it's too loud later. No, it's perfect. I really love that he turned the piano up because it's such a cool part. And it was very buried
Hmm.
in the original mix, but he fixed it. He nailed it there. So,
Awesome.
but yeah. And then I think Clint wrote a tune to this. He either wrote a tune to this or no, he didn't. While we were recording the road sessions, Clint said to me, I played it for him and he was like, oh, that lyric, I would think that that was more of like a pensive, slower, fleeting kind of song. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, I can see that. But to me, it feels desperate.
Hmm.
And I wanted to have that kind of drive in the music and the desperation that I think is in that lyric. I think if you look at the lyric just bare and kind of say what is this person feeling,
Hmm.
not just what they're saying, but what are they feeling? And so I wanted to convey that in it. It is kind of upbeat, but I still think it has a little bit of that edge. And I used to open my concerts with this,
Hmm.
and loved doing that. I don't know if people liked it, but they didn't like "You Are the Light." Let me tell you, I never played that song in a concert and got like a strong positive response, which
So strange.
so strange. Um, but they like some other ones a lot. So that's great. It's fine. Everybody has their own taste. But in your mind, you're like, oh, these are going to be the ones. But I'm
Yeah.
terrible at picking hits. I've been terrible at picking hits for other people. I once got into a fight with 7 Day Jesus about one of their songs. That's not a name drop. I was a teenager. I went to their concert, and
Sure.
afterwards, I talked to one of them, and I was like, "Hey, I really like," and I can't remember. It was a song later on The Hunger, and he was like, "What?" And then all of a sudden, like he calls the band over, and here they're surrounding this little skinny teenage Matthew, this band, and Brian, the lead singer, was wearing like a fur. You know what I mean? Looking all
Yeah.
rock star, and they were like, the guy was like, tell them what you just said to me." And I was like, "That's my favorite song on the record." And they turn to me and they go, "We hate that song." So yeah, taste varies is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. Yeah,
Brian's new band is great though.
good.
Mirrors. Yeah, it's
Okay.
really good. He's down in Chicago. They opened for PFR when PFR played here a couple of years
Yeah.
ago because PFR is from the Twin Cities. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Nice.
still out there trying to make it as a musician. So
Yeah.
awesome. Let's talk about Redeemed, Restored, and Forgiven, based on in part on a hymn text by Henry W. Baker, and I I love this song. This is probably maybe my second favorite. I really like the bridge that's kind of towards the end, and just kind of the way the song builds. So yeah, this is another favorite of mine. What do you remember about getting putting this song on the record?
Yeah. This was going to be my more kind of mainstream Christian sounding song.
Sure.
And I thought that maybe people might want to sing it in corporate worship. And I thought this was my follow-up radio single after the first one hit, but that never happened. And yeah, I really like this one. I love, yeah, like you said, that bridge. I love what happens with the strings on that. They do this. It almost sounds a little bit like some of the string. It's akin to. It doesn't sound like, but it's akin to some of the strings on "Bittersweet Symphony" by the
Hmm.
Verve. That dun 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 on the bridge. So like when I listen to these records, like I'm listening to all the different parts and like
Yeah.
listening to the individual musicians. Like I'm not just like listening to myself and being like, oh my gosh, I'm so great. I'm listening to all these players that I really admire. And I'm like, can't believe they came up with that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And the drums, the way the drums go on that bridge. But yeah, that was, and this one, some churches have sung it.
Hmm.
Like it's one of those that either people love it and becomes one of the church's favorite songs, or they try it once and it goes nowhere. Maybe because of the bridge. Bridges can sometimes throw people off. But it's interesting. This is the only song on the album that speaks of suffering in the past tense.
Hmm.
All the other ones speak of suffering in the present tense.
Sure.
Um, and a lot, if you notice, a lot of worship music speaks of suffering in the past tense.
Sure. Yeah.
And which, it's good to be both. It's good to celebrate, what God has brought you through, as well as what how God is near to you now with whatever you're going through. So
Yeah.
it's good to have both. But my music almost always speaks of suffering in the present tense because these hymn writers wrote that way.
Yeah.
And but this one spoke in the past tense, and it's just a little bit lighter, fun song without being, it's still a really deep lyric.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that it's redeemed, restored, forgiven, and through Jesus' precious blood, heirs of our home in heaven. Oh, praise our pardoning God. Like it even there's a lot in just those lines of what Jesus has done, how He's done it, and what we are because of it.
Yeah.
Just in those first three lines of that 4-line chorus. So yeah, and
Yeah, even that
that's another.
phrase. Oh, sorry.
Mhm.
Even that phrase, our pardoning God, is like,
Yeah,
you don't hear that phrase like very
right.
often, and I feel
Yeah.
like it stands out really to me.
Yeah.
It's like just a really great line and a really great way of talking about God. That's the way I want to talk about God, is His
Yeah.
pardoning spirit.
And that's the old hymn writers for you. And that's another one where the chorus was the first verse of that hymn.
Okay.
And so I just moved it.
Fourth song is At Eve It Shall Be Light. Again, this one is based in part off of a hymn text from Bernard Barton, and it's a reference to Zechariah 14:7. And I really love the drums at the beginning. That it's a nice change of pace from those first three songs. It brings a little life, and I love that. And again, I'm a punk rock guy, so I have no problem with a album being 30 minutes and it all basically sounds the same. I have no problem with that. But I love those drums really pop, and it really makes it stand out from those first three.
Yeah. And there's no drummer on that track. It's Kaysen hitting a floor tom.
Wow.
And then I think the rest of it's programming and maybe tambourine. You can look in the liner notes, but he basically built a loop kind of thing, or like I walked in when he had built that, and I listened to it. I was like, yes,
that's awesome. Yeah, floor tom, tambourine, hand clap, programming.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Jeremy Casella sang background vocals. Nathan Duggar played electric guitar on this, and I think it's the only time on any of my records that I have dictated the guitar solo. So I'm not a good guitar player at all. Like, I can't play lead at all, but I was like, this is how I want the solo to go. And I sang it to him. And then he played it until he got it right. Also, I think this is the one where we were working on it. Casey and I were looking at the computer that we were recording on, and Nathan was behind us. And then we turned around, and Nathan was holding a bass, and he said, I want to play bass on this one too. And that's just the kind of enthusiastic musical guy that he is that we brought him in to play guitar on some songs that day, but he decided that he needed to play bass on that one as well as the guitar. And he did a great job.
That's awesome. That's enthusiasm. That's what you want, right?
Somebody's
willing to help out in a bunch of different ways. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Number 5 is then Greater Than Our Hearts. Again, this is another Charles Wesley one. And again, this one feels a little more Nashville than some of the other ones. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit more of that Americana maybe. And then I want to say this is on the road sessions, but I'm totally doubting myself now.
It's not. It's on. There's a version of it on the Indelible Grace album, By Thy Mercy, Indelible Grace Acoustic.
Okay.
And that was actually Kevin Twitt and Jeff Pardo were in the studio one day. I wasn't even there. And they were like, we came up with this idea for it. And I think it's pretty goofy to this day. It has its own charm. If you pull that up, this album, Watch the Rising Day, at the moment of this recording is not on streaming. But if you pull up Greater Than Our Hearts, you'll hear it and you'll be like, that doesn't sound anything like what Caleb was talking about.
Sure.
No, it doesn't. It's very goofy and weird. And I can't believe that's what they heard when they heard the song. But I was fine with it. I knew I was going to record it on this album exactly the way I wanted. And I did. This is how I envisioned it. I love the B3. I love the pedal steel, which is probably giving you those kind of Americana vibes. It's Kenny on that. And the background vocals, especially right before the last chorus, I think, or maybe the next to last chorus, they kind of rise up. And I just loved how this turned out.
Yeah.
But grace has set me free. Its pleasures now no longer please, no more content afford. Far from my heart be joys like these. Now I have seen the Lord. Oh, oh, oh.
right in the middle, that flips us over to side B. And this is, I'll be honest, side B is where this album wins me over. I really like, I mean, I already said two of my favorite songs are on side A,
Yeah.
but side B is where this starts to feel like this huge cohesive album. And I'm a big fan of that. And so you start side B with the communion hymn, Lord Jesus, comfort me. Again, you talk about suffering. This is, okay, it looks like based in part on a German text by Johann Reist. Oh man, I have no idea if I said that right.
Me neither.
This was the one that probably feels the closest to like a traditional arrangement on the album. I could be totally wrong, but that's how it feels to me. So where did this one come from? Because obviously a German translation, that's a little heavier digging than some of the other ones maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I sat down one day, one afternoon or evening, and I wrote this, Good Night, which is later in the record, and I think At Eve It Shall Be Light, which we just talked about a couple
Yeah.
songs ago, in one sitting in like 15 minutes. It's the most productive writing session I've ever had. Usually writing is absolute torture for me, and I hate it. And so I don't do it very often. But like I think I got all three of those. Like they just
Hmm.
came like that. And I don't know, this one just felt right.
Hmm.
And I know what you mean by it sounding more traditional. I just think it just sounds more, it just kind of has those block chords that
Yeah.
you might associate more with a traditional hymn. But yeah, I wanted it to be this quieter moment on the record. A theme throughout my work, and not just this album, but my work, is the importance of the humanity of Jesus, not only
Hmm.
the divinity, but the humanity of Jesus. And it often comes through on songs like Let Me Find Thee, that talks about just the shared experience of humanity with Jesus and how God can know us intimately because he became one of us.
Hmm.
But this one's actually about the passion of Christ, about the suffering and the cross. Yeah, I had one pastor who really liked this one. He told me he really liked it, but he introduced it to his worship band and they thought it was depressing.
I mean, it's not Philip Wickham, but it's not depressing by any. I mean,
Right.
it's
But
read the words.
but yeah, I think it's a beautiful
Yeah.
song, a beautiful lyric. And I also wanted to include that it was a communion hymn, like in the title in parentheses, like that, just to let people know, like this would be a great song to
Yeah.
sing at communion. But this is the one I did the music video for, which people can find on YouTube.
Hmm.
And what happened is that my the wife of one of my friends had to have a major surgery, and because they were really well connected and well loved with music people in town, they had this big auction and people brought in items that you could bid on,
Hmm.
and I bid on and won. I already had my budget for this record set aside. So I had cash. I mean, not literally on me, but I had it in my bank account. And I got at this auction at cut rates that helped her, but like, what I mean, less than they normally would have. The photo shoot with Jeremy Cowart, who it was a half day shoot with Jeremy, and I never would have been able to get him otherwise.
Hmm.
The music video with the guy who went on to direct the 10 out of 10 documentary,
Hmm.
and then a day at the Smokestack, Paul Moak's studio, where we recorded this one, You Are the Light, Redeemer Restored, and another one. Anyway, if it's the ones that Latito and Lucido are on,
Sure.
was that tracking day at the Smokestack. So we blew through 4 songs. Usually for a day, 3 songs is normal, and like 4 songs if it's going well. But I only had this one day in that studio that I won in this auction. And so and so I was really happy to get through four
Yeah.
songs. And the band, I remember the band particularly liking this one, which was encouraging to me because those guys, again, when you're working with guys that play on
Yeah.
stuff all the time, it's just meaningful to have that feedback. But
Yeah.
but yeah, this is a special one. I also remember my oldest son, who's now 18, singing along with us at one of my concerts in North Carolina one time,
Hmm.
tunelessly, but and loudly, but with a lot of feeling. And everybody thought it was very cute,
Yeah.
and I thought it was very moving. So yeah.
I kind of mentioned like the second half, like it's an interesting choice to start. A lot of people want to put their like your opening track that didn't make the opening track.
Right.
You put that at the kind of the
Yeah.
start of side B, and like I like this though. This kind of sets this mood for where we're headed on
Yeah.
this side B. It's also a unique choice, and I like that. I think it works really well for this set of songs. Some albums you wouldn't want it, but like here it really works well. So
Yeah.
the next song then, track 7, is "I Have Seen the Lord," and this is another one that I have written that's on the road sessions. I don't know if I
Mhm.
fact
Yep.
check myself.
It
So,
is.
and then this is John Newton is the hymn that this is based off of. Oh, I think what stands out, and I think it's on the road sessions too, is the slide guitar really jumps out on this one. I think that's the
Okay.
most prominent thing on this. And I don't know if slide guitar is the right. I'm not a
Mhm.
musician, but that's
I know.
the thing
Yeah,
that kind of
I know
is
what you're talking
jumps
about.
out for me on this track.
Yeah, I love this one. I love being able to do it properly, because the road session one was good, but you working on cassette, four
Yeah,
track cassette, you don't quite get all of it. But so yeah, we layer the vocals, the harmonies. I just love that kind of really lush vocal thing. It's a very slight song. It's only
Hmm.
two verses,
Yeah,
so it was a challenge in writing it. I'm like, what? I really like this lyric. It says a lot, but I need to make this a song. And
sure.
I didn't want to write a new word chorus. I don't like it when people write a chorus to a hymn just because they feel like they should.
Yeah,
And so I wrote just the o o o's parts, and that's really fun to sing.
yeah. This is where this wins me over. Is these last 3 songs. So let's talk about them. The War, I think, is absolutely great. Based on, oh man, I'm not even gonna, man, that's a tough name. So based on, in part, on a text, hymn text by,
Horatio Bonar.
okay, I'm not even close. I love this song. I love the crescendo. This is just the composition here to the end is amazing, but the crescendo on this song in particular is amazing. Where did you come up with this one?
Yeah, I found this one in a hymnal. And I don't know if found this quote after or before, but it makes me think of the John Piper quote, "Life
Yeah.
is war." Yeah, life is war. That's not all it is, but it is always that.
Hmm.
Um, and just, yeah, there's so many songs, Christian songs, that almost make the Christian life sound easy.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is reflective of what Scripture teaches, but or my own experience. And but this kind of even addressed, they said the war was brief and easy. One word, one look would crush the throng.
Yeah.
For some, it may have been a moment's battle. For me, it has been sore and long. And then the bridge really kind of brings it together of Jesus is the one who wins the fight for me.
Yeah.
I had Kenny Hudson play electric guitar on this, and I remember sitting down in Cason's studio and saying, "Kenny, you weren't our first call for this." But Mike Campbell from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers wasn't available, so which was a way of me saying you are my first call, but also indicating what I wanted him to bring to it.
Sure.
Because Mike Campbell is one of my favorite guitar players of all time, and
Yeah.
Kenny just, I mean, crushed it. This is a song that when my kids were young, one of my kids would be like, "You don't sing rock music." And I'd be like, "Listen to
Yeah.
this," and I'd
Yeah.
crank it up
Listen
in
to
the
this one.
car, and he'd be like, "Okay." Um, but and then the other thing I remember is over the solo, I do this vocal part that I can't do. And so I basically blew my voice out that day on purpose because I don't know how to some of these like metal singers and different people like kind of know, I'm not screaming, I'm singing, but it's way beyond my normal thing. But I had
Yeah.
in my head what I wanted it to be, and I made my voice do it at a cost. But I did get through it, and my throat hurt afterwards. But it is now on a vinyl CD and bloops and bits for as long as people are around to listen to it. So
Yeah.
it was worth hurting my voice that day. But yeah, I love this one. This is one I never really played live that much.
Yeah. I can imagine this might
Because I
throw off
yeah
the grandmas who were just showing up at the church.
I thought might be too much. I thought that we might not be able to pull it off, and I knew I wouldn't be able to sing that vocal part, and I
Yeah.
really liked that part of it. But this is one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, I think this is another great example of taking those texts, putting it into
Yeah.
this unique sound that I think again people would probably not go, "Oh yeah, this is a hymn." It's like,
Right.
yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
just this different interpretation of it. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not, these hymns weren't always written as kind of corporate worship songs. Like, and
Hmm.
this is one that you can really tell. This one and
Yeah.
Goodnight, I think, really for the rest of the record, are examples of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good transition then, because Goodnight is, I get another one that I just don't feel like you could play that, and I don't think somebody would pick up. Oh, this is old hymn text. So this is from a an unknown German writer, but is translated by Jane Brothwick. Is what I want to go with. Again, I apologize to everybody's name I've said because I haven't said any of them right. I love this one. The piano is great. It complements your voice on this one. I mean, it's the vocal performance. I know you said you blew out your voice on
Yeah,
the last one, but
got
you're
better.
so warm on this, and just it
Yeah,
really, really is this
thank
great
you.
transition from the war to Watch the Rising Day. You really could, these three songs is, I think sometimes when I listen to this, I kind of get lost in which one of these songs it is. The war stands out a little bit more, but especially that transition, just so warm, and it's just, I love the nanas at the end, and
Yeah.
it's just a great song. So again, how did you find this one? And again, another great one that does not sound like your traditional hymn.
Yeah. Again, that's one of the ones I was flipping through that night when I wrote three of them at
Yeah.
once. But yeah, what's funny is that I agree with you about, you might not think it's a hymn, but it actually sticks to the hymn structure better than most of the other songs
Huh.
on this record. You know, it's verse, 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 like there's no chorus.
Yeah, I
But
suppose you're right. Yeah.
I do add I don't think the original says, I think the original just says good night till then at the end
Hmm.
of every line, but I changed it to good night till then. And gives it a little rhythmic hook
Yeah.
that kind of carries over from verse to verse. And then, of course, there's the big instrumental breakdown.
Yeah.
Instead of a bridge, like instead of writing a bridge or trying to turn one of these verses into a bridge, like I do on several other songs on this record, we just have this big, strings and the kind of Marshall drums, that Marshall beat kind of thing in the
Yeah.
instrumental section that just really then helps lift it into the last verse, and then we end with the big na na nas. And this one got some attention. Like Tim Challies' blog, he posted about it. Like I had sent him this record, and this is the song that really stood out to him.
Hmm.
And it's just for the listeners, like if you've never heard this album, this is told from the perspective of someone who is dying
Hmm.
and going to be with the Lord. And so it's a very just poignant lyric from someone like basically ready to go be with the Lord, and they're on their deathbed or whatever the situation is. That kind of gives you that view of eternity, and also musically allows me to kind of at the end. It's not as cheesy as being like, and then he goes to heaven at the end,
Right.
but it does give you, the music continues the sentiment of the lyric after the lyric's over, is what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thrilled with what Kaysen was able to do. I really should say Kaysen's name on every single one of these because he's such a genius, and what he did to bring these songs to life is just, I just think he's the best.
It balances the rock that we've talked about with some of those more Americana sounds. Like there's
Yeah,
enough of it, or maybe the Tom Petty. Maybe Tom Petty is a better comparison.
yeah,
But yes, he does seem to meld it. And again, like I think it's a good producer who can take that vision of like, hey, this is what I want it to be, and put it all into like this very cohesive unit, which I think is great.
yeah.
Last track, title track, based on a hymn text by William Cooper.
Cooper.
Cooper. I didn't want to go with the obvious. The W threw me off. So
Yeah,
I love when a title track is the last track. I think that's fantastic. So I always approve of that. And I think it's Sandra on this one is she has female vocals, kind of background vocals on this, and I think they are absolutely perfect for this. It's a great conclusion to this album, in my opinion. So Watch the Rising Day. What was the inspiration for this being the title track?
yeah. I thought it was a cool title. That I think captured the theme of the record of like, again, you're in the already in the not yet, but you're looking towards the not yet. You're looking towards, and again, coming at the heels of Good Night, which is actually about, someone to go and be with the Lord in eternity. It has that, but then we're back. Like that was that guy. Now this song is kind of me.
Yeah.
It's again those themes of kind of desperation from I need thee today. My former hopes are fled. My terror now begins. I
Mm.
feel as that I am dead in trespasses and sins. Oh, whither shall I fly? I hear the thunder roar. The law. proclaims destruction nigh and vengeance at the door. Just the sense of like dread, it has a real sense of dread of condemnation, um, which I think can often come, and certainly in my story, from focusing on myself instead of focusing on Jesus, focusing on my spiritual performance or my
Yeah.
life circumstance instead of trusting in the Lord. So it really goes from there. I originally wrote it, I thought I was writing a song like Bruce Springsteen's The Ghost of Tom Joad.
Hmm.
It doesn't sound anything like that. I was convinced when I wrote it, I was like, this is my version of The Ghost of Tom Joad. And then later I listened to it, I was like, this does not sound anything. And a lot of creative people will tell you that. They'll be like, I tried to write this song, but
And
it
it
came
came
out
out.
completely differently. But that was just like my process. I do remember getting a voicemail from Kaysen where he had built this track because this is very much a programming heavy
Sure.
track. I got this voicemail from him. I checked it, and he was like, he sounded like a mad scientist who just like not screaming like Eureka, I did it, but somewhere in that vicinity of like basically he was like really excited. He was like, I was messing around with this Watch the Rising Day song, and really got something. I think this is gonna be really cool. Like he was, and he's a pretty cool cucumber. Like he'll get excited about musical ideas, but I've never seen him be like kind of blow his own mind a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
you want when you're working with people, even experienced people. Those moments where they blow their own minds. Talented people somehow doing something new or different or something that's exciting to them. And of course, when I came in and heard it, I was like, this is an incredible case. And then we just built on that. And the guitar sounds amazing on this one. That down, down, down at the beginning. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just I love this song. It captures how I wanted to end this album thematically and musically. Yeah, makes me
We-
really happy.
Going into it, did you think, oh, this is my title track, or was it more of like you guys get done with
Um,
it and you're like, wow, that
no,
is that
I think
needs
I
to be
had
it?
no, I think I had it from the beginning
Okay.
because I'd recorded this on road sessions as well,
Sure.
and
Okay.
I remember not naming. I named that first road sessions record. My song is Love Unknown because I didn't want to name it Watch the Rising Day because I knew that
You
was
want to
going to
use
be
it.
my album's name
Okay.
and that this is
Nice.
going to be on it. Um, so like I do that a little bit. Like I recorded a very different, kind of more chill version of the song All I Owe on my first EP,
Yeah. Yeah.
even when my heart is breaking. But I knew it was going to be the title track for my first full album.
Okay.
And then
Awesome.
my latest album, Quiet Hymns, I came up with that title in 2006 when I was recording All I Owe. I was like, I want to make an album called Quiet Hymns one day. And it took me
Wow.
from 2006 to 2017 to actually pull that together.
That's awesome.
But like sometimes I'll have those kind of ideas and be like, oh, that's going to be the thing. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what happened with this album.
Awesome.
For some it may have been a moment's conflict for me. It has been so very long. And yet I know that I shall conquer. Though soul and heart the fight may be. I know I shall be more than victor through him who won the fight for me.
Well, that's all of them. We're at time.
Yeah,
So where can people find some of these? Because I know you said it's not on streaming, but I know
sure.
there's a place to kind of connect with them.
Yeah, you can go to my website, which is www.matthewsmith.us, or go directly to Bandcamp, matthewsmith.bandcamp.com, where you can stream them in full for free a certain number of times, I think,
Okay.
and buy it if you want to support me in doing that. This will eventually be on streaming. I kind of had a streaming rollout plan that I did last year with several of my records, and then I stopped doing it, and I need to get back on that and put these out. I mean, this will come out after. Wait, is this the next one? Yeah, this is the next one after Road Session. So this will be released next. I know there's a radio edit of "You Are the Light" that's on
Okay.
streaming right
Yep.
now that people can listen to, uh, for sure. But yeah, my Bandcamp, go check it out there, and you can buy the CD. I still have a few copies of the vinyl left. I made 500 copies of this vinyl, and because I thought that would be good, and it has taken me 15 years weeks of touring and online orders to, but they're almost gone.
Well,
So,
I was thankful there was at least one left when I got into
yeah,
this only a
yeah,
couple years ago. So
yeah. There's definitely fewer than 50 left. There might be fewer than 20 left. For anybody that's on my website as well, on the Bandcamp page for this album. But yeah,
yeah,
that's where people can find me. If they want to hear my nonsense on Twitter, uh, Twitter, the website currently known as X.
no, it's known as
Um,
Twitter.
yeah, well, that's what people say. People say X, the website formerly known as Twitter, but I say Twitter, the website currently known
Currently
as
known as X.
X.
I like that.
Right. I just say nonsense on there. I think people follow me there for a long time thinking I would say something deep. And occasionally I might say something deep, but it's mostly like weird jokes that only I get. And I tweet them, and then I share them with my wife, and she rolls her eyes, and then I laugh at that tweet for another day. And I'm on Instagram, not super active, but also Matthew Smith US. So because my website is matthewsmith.us, and because the most famous Matthew Smith in the world other than me is a very famous British actor named Matt Smith,
That's why
and
I
he's
wanted to use. I always
British.
wondered that.
So Matthew Smith US on most social media, and then matthewsmith.us from my website.
Awesome. I'll make sure I get at least a handful of those linked up in the show notes so
Yeah,
people can check them out. So,
yeah.
well, I can't say thanks enough. This was a thrill for me. You're one of my favorite artists, and I love the hymns. I love what you do. So I can't say thanks enough.
I go the blessed angels, the holy saints to know our lovely ones departed. I go to find again and wait for you to join us. Good night till then.
I just want to say thanks to Matthew for joining me. It was really, really great to have him. I will say it, sometimes we answer the question at the end, kind of why would you recommend this album? And I'll do that one real quick. Hymns are, for me, the best kind of worship. They still are. And this is such a great example of an album where you can get those hymns, where you can get different things. This is absolutely, I think, a worthwhile album. If you want to check out why hymns can be great and why they're not what you think they are, this is it. This is such a great example of that. So that's kind of my recommendation. But I want to say thanks to Matthew for joining me, taking the time out of his busy life, his busy night to sit down and talk with me. And so just want to say thanks to him again. Again, this was Watch the Rising Day by Matthew Smith, released August 17th, 2010, celebrating a 15-year anniversary.
I see or think I see a glimmer from afar, a beam of day that shines for me, save me from despair. Save me from despair. Yeah. Save me from despair.
If you want to catch up with the show or find me online, I can be found on all the social media. It's Caleb the Spy on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Instagram. You can also email the show, CalebTheSpypodcasts@gmail.com. I have a running spreadsheet of all the albums I plan on doing in 2025. I'll be honest, I have hosts for a lot of them, but I'm working on 2026. I'd love to keep this show going. I love talking to people about music, so feel free to email me, CalebTheSpypodcasts@gmail.com. I will give you access to that spreadsheet, and then you can look at albums that I'm planning on doing. Again, I'm already starting to look ahead to 2026. Please subscribe and share the podcast. Please leave a rating or review. It is an effective way to spread the word about podcasts, so I really do appreciate it. It helps the algorithm, whether it's Apple, Spotify, or Audible. I found them on Audible recently. That was a shock to my system. I don't know how that happened, but there you go. If you enjoy the show, you might also enjoy the other podcast I do with my friend Scott. It's called I Survived Youth Group in the 90s. It's not just a podcast where we reminisce about our youth and our youth group experience, but we're trying to interview fellow 90s youth group kids and 2000s and just hear where they're at now. We're not trying to change anybody's opinion. We're not trying to say how they should view the world or how any of those sorts of things. We just want to hear about the youth group experience and the journey to where they are today. Again, thanks so much, Matthew. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to everybody soon. So it ranks in my top 20. It is my favorite album. Oh, hold on. My kids are making pizza. That's going to be a fun little outtake for it. I don't know if you
I
can
mean,
hear it if it's not coming through.
I can't hear it on my end. I don't know
Oh,
if
it's
that.
my fire alarm. My fire alarms are going off.
Oh wow, you've got a really good mic as far as not being
Yeah.
omnidirectional.
Yeah, my Audacity's picking it up. Hold on. Come on. Oh, my son's going to be in trouble now.
Do you need to take a break and go
No,
get?
it's just got to stop. Usually it doesn't go this long. Hang on. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that.
No problem.
We've this is just for fun and like it's not like I'm making a living off this. It's my hobby.
Sure.
But like right above me is our kitchen and it's wood floors. So there are times I'll be recording and somebody will drop something, you just hear it roll across the entire wood floor and my Audacity will just pick it up. It's like so Zoom is amazing. It like
Yeah.
suppresses all of it, but
Yeah.
it's like if I use this file, it'll. But okay, I'm gonna start over because I was right in the middle of it here. So I'm gonna gush blah blah blah. So this is my 19th. Gosh, it's going off again. Oh my gosh. All right, see if I can get through this. One of the highlights my son still talks about, my youngest son. The other kids we had stuff going on, but you were playing in St. Paul, and me and him went. We had Culver's beforehand, and then went up and saw you in
Nice.
St. Paul, and
Love Culver's.
he was having a great time. He was digging it. So
That's
it's a
awesome.
favorite memory of ours that he still occasionally brings up. Do you remember when we went to that concert? I do. So you were playing Jeremy's album, actually, the one you mentioned before, in
Definitely
between
worse.
sets, and I was like,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah. That
awesome.
sounds like me. Yeah. Yeah. I love me some Jeremy Casella. I'll take it any day of the week. Um, yeah. I hope to make it back up there at some point. I don't know when I will. I'm not touring nearly as much these days. I've kind of chilled out since the pandemic.
Yeah,
Kind of ramped down my touring. I still love to tour. I just don't book as hard as I used to. I used to
sure.
spend all my time booking, and then I got tired of that. So hope to do that. Hope to make another record someday. Indelible Grace is making a new record right now, so that should be out, I think, later this year.
Yeah.
Um, we came out with a new live record last year,
Yep.
live in Memphis. Bright Hope for Tomorrow, live in Memphis, and so we're still doing our thing. I'm seeing one song on the new Indelible Grace. I didn't write it. It's a Christopher Miner tune, and he wrote some of the best ones, like A Little Bit Will Not Let Me Go, and on George Stormy Banks, and all those kind of things. But so yeah, I'm excited. I'm incredibly grateful to continue to be able to do this. I'm certainly grateful to you for letting me talk about this. Again, when I listen to it, I'm just like so happy with all the other people that were involved, and then the memories that I have of it, and memories of playing these songs at concerts, and it's just a really really great time. So
I've learned from their usual shout out. Church Jams Now is another podcast that they mostly cover Christian music, and so
yeah,
they get these guys coming on and like I think it's I'd rather have a band come on or an artist come on and talk about what
yeah,
they liked about it instead
yeah,
of being like, oh, I can't believe we did this. Like you're
yeah,
making the choices you can at the time, and like so I think I've seen enough artists really come on and be excited to talk about what they like about what they did. So
yeah.
I don't think people see it as anything but people being excited about the art they
Good.
created, and that's good.
If you can't, I don't know if you've covered the two late era post reunion Five Iron Frenzy albums, but if you can't get one of those 20 people in that band to come on, I'll come on and geek out on those two albums
Okay,
because
it's
that's
scheduled. Until This Shakes Apart is scheduled for January of 2026 because it'll celebrate its 5-year anniversary. So
one of my favorite. I mean, you can have somebody else, that's fine, but that's one of my favorite albums.
I think it's going to
And
be knowing the people who I'm connected with. It's going to be one of the ones that people are clamoring for. But
oh,
I'll
it's
send you
so
the spreadsheet.
good.
I got a whole spreadsheet of albums I'm planning
I
on doing.
love Five Iron. I really like and loved at the time old Five Iron
Yeah,
when I was younger, but these last two albums are. I mean, I know one of them came out in like 2013 or
yeah,
something,
yeah. It's a while ago.
but both of those records are so good.
Oh
Like
yeah,
those are the records I put on in my van. Um, if I'm running errands or something, I've got a nicer sound system in my van, and like my family's not with me. I turn it all the way to 30, which is maximum,
yeah,
and sing along to those songs because they're just talk about intricate like production and Scott's writing, and
yeah,
it's they're just an amazing band.
yeah.
And I hope they make something else soon.
I hope so too. I think Reese's. Well, I don't know if I'll leave this in, but it's been a
Yeah,
rough couple of years.
yeah,
So
yeah, it
yeah.
has. But PFR is coming out with a new record.
Yeah, I hope they get it done. I know they're working on it. There's so many
I'm
bands
super
that it's,
stoked about that.
and I totally get it. Like I keep up with this little dinky podcast, like, and I feel stressed. There's times where I'm like, oh gosh, am I going to get this all done? You
Yeah.
know, it's like I can't imagine trying to produce an album in
Oh,
between work
they're
and stuff.
pros. They're doing it.
Oh,
They're doing it. I think they're almost done.
their
Uh,
show, I went. It was 2 years ago now. I don't know, 2023 when they played. It was at one point I was like, it's like listening to the CD. How do they sound? How do they still sound like this? What's
no,
going
no,
on?
Caleb, listen. Um, I listening to like Great Lengths and Goldie's Last Day in high school. I just remember listening to CDs over and over again and being like, how did they make it sound this way?
Yeah.
And then I saw them play live, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
that's what they sound like."
oh,
I
it's
thought it was studio.
incredible.
I thought it was studio trickery. I didn't know anything. I just thought this sounds different and better than everybody else's record.
Yeah.
They must have some secret sauce in the studio. They must have a guy with a trick. No, that's the way they
It
sound.
was incredible.
They're incredible. I saw them a few months ago. They had like a little private concert that did I how did I do that? They had one of these things. It's a website where you can buy a ticket and
Oh, sure,
it bid
sure.
up a thing or whatever. And I went to that and I was just like, and then I saw them a couple years ago at the Basement East, and that was one of the best concerts I've ever seen. And Charlie
Yeah.
Lowell and Steve Mason from Jars of Clay were with the band to kind of expand the sound.
Yeah. I think Charlie was there when they were playing here in the Twin
Okay.
Cities.
But I mean, Steve was playing acoustic guitar and singing. Like Steve's an incredible background singer, and it on top of Patrick and Joel's vocals, I just can't believe how good of a band they are
Yeah.
and how good their songs are. And I just really hope for, yeah, I'm thrilled that they're getting back together once again.
Yeah. It was an incredible show. Like I went with a buddy who was like, yeah, I mean, I was kind of a PFR fan. And then like halfway through, he's like, I know all of these songs. I guess I was
Yeah.
more of a fan than I thought I was. And I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah. No,
So
they're incredible. So
yeah.